Uche had always been a dreamer. From the time he was a young boy in his village, he had heard the mysterious tales of mermaids that roamed the rivers. They were not ordinary sea creatures, but magical beings that could bring immense wealth and fortune to anyone who met them. Uche listened to these stories with wide eyes, believing every word. It wasn't just a fairy tale for him, it was a hope, a dream, a destiny he was determined to chase. Growing up in a poor village, Uche watched as his family struggled to make ends meet. His mother would send him to the river early in the morning to fetch water, but Uche wasn't interested in just fetching water. He believed that if he stayed at the river long enough, the mermaid would appear and grant him the wealth he so desperately desired. His mother would call him to hurry, but Uche would delay, staring into the water, waiting for a glimpse of the mystical creature. Yet the mermaid never appeared. He tried different times of the day, early morning, late afternoon, even late at night when the moonlight shimmered on the water's surface. But no mermaid was ever in sight. Determined, Uche decided to go beyond his village to find the mermaid. At the age of 15, he started going to a distant river, hoping that there the mermaid would appear to him. But his efforts were always in vain. He returned home frustrated each time, but his belief never wavered. One day, desperate for answers, Uche sought the wisdom of Mama Agbeke, an elderly woman known for her knowledge of the mystical and supernatural. The old woman lived on the outskirts of the village, and her advice was highly sought after. Uche was nervous but determined. He approached Mama Agbeke with a question that had been on his mind for years. "Mama," Uche began, "is it true? Do mermaids really exist? Are they out there, waiting to bless someone like me?" The elderly woman let out a deep, cracked laugh. "Ah, my son, they are real. But only the lucky ones get to see them." Uche leaned in closer. "What can I do to be lucky enough to find one?" Mama Agbeke's face grew serious. She looked into Uche's eyes with a piercing gaze. "No one can say what makes a person lucky enough to meet a mermaid, but one thing is for sure. When they find you, they bring great blessings. But beware, Uche, sometimes those blessings come with a cost." Uche was puzzled. "What kind of cost, Mama?" The old woman sighed. "Remember this, honeycomb is sweet, but the bees sting. Be careful what you wish for." But Uche was undeterred. "Money has no side effects, Mama, and if any trouble comes with it, I will use my wealth to fix it." Mama Agbeke chuckled and shook her head, but she didn't stop him. She knew that the path Uche was choosing would not be an easy one. She knew that sometimes the things we desire the most are the very things that destroy us. The road to Lagos. A year later, Uche's quest led him far from his village to the bustling city of Lagos, where the famous Kuramo Beach was known to be a haven for the wealthy. He had heard whispers that mermaids could sometimes be found near the sea, and so, with nothing but a few coins in his pocket, Uche set off for the city, hoping that his luck would finally change. He took a commercial bus, GUO, and after a long journey, he arrived in Lagos, eager and excited. The first sight of the beach was overwhelming. The sound of the waves crashing, the salty air, and the crowded market filled with vendors selling food, clothes, and various goods. Uche spent his first few nights sleeping by the shore, under the starry sky, waiting for the mermaid to appear. He ate whatever he could find, leftover food from tourists or kind-hearted beachgoers who offered him something to eat. But after several days of fruitless waiting, his money ran out. Uche knew he had to do something to survive. So he took up work as a waiter for a popular food vendor on the beach, a woman known as Madame All-Rounder. She was an older woman, plump and single, but she had a reputation for making the best food on the beach. People from all over came to eat her famous dishes, but there was something strange about Madame All-Rounder. She never allowed anyone to enter her kitchen, not even her helpers, because she was paranoid that they might steal her secret recipes. Despite her reclusive behavior, Madame All-Rounder was a successful businesswoman. She owned a big Jeep and had an expensive lifestyle, even though she was single and looked far older than her years. Her skin was pockmarked with dark spots, and she looked like someone who had spent too many years in the sun. Uche, however, paid little attention to her unusual ways. He focused on his work, waiting for the mermaid to appear, still believing that fortune was just around the corner. The unexpected twist As the days turned into weeks, Uche began to notice something strange about Madame All-Rounder. Her customers seemed unusually loyal to her, always returning, always praising her food. She was always surrounded by a strange aura of mystery and power. It was almost as if the food itself had some magical property. Uche found himself drawn to her, fascinated by her ability to attract so many people. One evening, after closing time, Uche approached Madame All-Rounder. "Madam, I've been wondering, how did you become so successful? What's your secret?" Madame All-Rounder gave him a knowing smile, her eyes glinting in the dim light of the restaurant. "Success comes in many forms, my dear boy, but if you're looking for a secret, I'll tell you this. I've been blessed by the sea." Uche's heart skipped a beat. Could she be a mermaid? He had heard stories about women who lived on the shore and wielded great power. Was Madame All-Rounder one of them? You are a mermaid, aren't you?" Uche asked, almost whispering. Madame All-Rounder didn't answer directly. Instead, she laughed softly. "You think I'm a mermaid? You've been looking for one, haven't you?" Uche nodded eagerly. "I've been searching for years. I need to meet one. I need the wealth they bring." Madame All-Rounder's smile widened, revealing sharp, glistening teeth. "You think you can just find a mermaid and get what you want? That's not how it works, Uche." He was confused. "Then, what should I do? I've come all this way. I need the wealth. I need a better life." She leaned in closer, her eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. "Maybe I can help you, but you'll have to make a sacrifice." Uche didn't hesitate. "I'll do anything." Marriage and regret. As the days passed, Uche became more and more involved with Madame All-Rounder. She began to reveal more of her powers to him, showing him glimpses of the wealth and success she had gained. He was captivated, convinced that she was the key to his dreams. Eventually, Madame All-Rounder agreed to marry him, and Uche believed that once they were married, her true beauty and wealth would emerge. After all, he had heard that mermaids were said to possess incredible riches. But when they were married, nothing changed. Madame All-Rounder remained the same, old, unattractive, and still running her little beachside restaurant. There were no sudden transformations, no hidden treasures. Uche grew frustrated and disappointed. He had hoped that marrying her would unlock some kind of magical wealth, but instead he found himself stuck in a life just like the one he had before. To make matters worse, Madame All-Rounder soon became pregnant. Uche was filled with dread, knowing that he was trapped. He had made an oath to never leave her, and now he was bound by it. He couldn't escape, not after making the promise. He had no choice but to stay with her, hoping that somehow things would change. But deep inside, Uche began to regret everything. The money, the power, the dreams of wealth, it all seemed meaningless now. He had been blinded by his desire for riches and had failed to see the true cost of his actions. The bitter truth. Months passed, and Uche's regret only grew. His life with Madame All-Rounder was nothing like the fairy tales he had imagined. The wealth he thought would come never materialized, and instead he found himself trapped in a loveless marriage, bound by an oath he couldn't break. It wasn't until much later that Uche finally understood the lesson Mama Agbeke had tried to teach him. Honeycomb is sweet, but the bees sting. The mermaid he had sought out so desperately had not been a magical creature, but a woman with a dark secret. She had used her powers to manipulate him, and now he was paying the price. Uche realized too late that the price of seeking wealth and power without understanding the cost could be far greater than he ever imagined. He had lost his freedom, his hope, and his future, all for the empty promise of wealth. And as he looked into the eyes of his pregnant wife, Uche knew that he was forever bound to the curse he had sought so eagerly. Please subscribe to Best African Folktales today for